Great, Vice Chair McDonald, we are live and good to go.
Thank you, Clerk Bonnet. Calling to order the May 26th Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Committee meeting. Chair Rob Jackson apologizes, he'll be just a little late. He's on the phone at work and will be right with us. And calling first the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Cavan-Monaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for and teachings about these lands. May we honor these teachings. Welcome, everybody. Could we first have a motion to both receive and approve the agenda?
So moved. Like a second.
Any, all in favor?
Thank you.
Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Anybody who finds anything on the agenda that pertains to their life and work? No. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the meeting held April 28th? So, are there any amendments to the minutes at all? Okay, that being the case, so we have an approval of the minutes, please. Move to approve.
No. Who seconded it? I saw two hands at the same time. We do need a vote.
And a vote as well. Yeah. Robert's for rules of order. Moving on to reports, the financial report first from Mr. Allison.
Currently as of today, contracted services, the budget approved is $2,000. There is $2,000 remaining. Materials and supplies, 4,800 is budgeted, and remaining is $3,818.92. I'm not sure if there's still maybe some outstanding workday invoices coming in. Not 100% on that.
Yeah, I have like $33.90 in postal stuff. That has gone way up. But nothing substantial. Robert will I think we might invite him after you get an update on that when he comes, if he can come back to the financial report before we leave it. I think that might be the best way to do things. Would it be better than to go on to the order report?
Yes, I think that would be best because I think there's others.
I should have thought of that. Proceeding 6.2, the Oracle report with Meredith Carter. Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Not a whole lot to report. The cleanup goes on after the ice storm. Most of our parks are reopened. Our staff did do some limbing and cleanup at the trailhead. I'm not sure if anyone noticed that. And I believe there are a couple of trees left downstream of the dam on the island to be sorted out when a contractor can be secured. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
For you, Vice Chair, was that massive tree that fell down in the island in the creek, was that you guys that had to clean it up, or was that us? Like the really big one right at the
The big willow there.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure our public works.
Are-
They did pick it up the other day.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
whether they cut it up or not.
Okay, because when you were saying trailhead work, I was like, all right, that's now gone, but.
Yeah, they did pick
Cool,
it up.
okay.
the other day, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I've actually gotten some like positive feedback from customers saying how much they've appreciated how clean and orderly everything happened from your end as well. So always good, happy to share.
Good,
Great,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I keep all the bad things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, anything at all else? The Children's Water Festival is tomorrow, so I imagine there will be busloads of children from Monaghan attending. There have 1,300 students registered over 2 days. Wow. Yeah, yeah, so that's good. That's great. And Meredith was doing quick duty handing out trees on Tree Handout Day. So we'll give a report on that later when we get to work day. Trails report. From Tree, that would be John Wallace and myself.
Excuse me, Chair, Vice Chair, McDonald.
Report.
Yeah, you have a motion to receive the,
For it, thank you. John Wallace and seconded by Gary Wallace. And the vote. Thank you. And let's start out, we're sitting next to me. So we had started the financial report and then thought better of it with you not here because you wondered if you had any receipts from workday that we should be discussing.
Do you know him?
Your receipts, yeah, we do have those, but whether there's any outstanding from hardware or no.
This is where we are, contracted services, 2,000 remaining, materials and supplies. Yes.
Okay.
To you, Chair Jackson, we would need, my understanding is, the committee went slightly above the offset limit that was approved at the previous meeting. The number, I believe, final number is $449.31. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Chris, so we just need a motion, but we would need a motion by the committee just to approve the additional expenses from the workday, the one above the offset limit.
What was the offset limit for?
That was the barbecue material.
Right, okay, yeah, that was inflation and we had
Loads of folks.
over 60 people, so.
Yeah,
it was
it's great, yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to change the offset limit? Or
Uh,
the offset limit?
Just to approve, an additional, I think it's $49.31, of spending for materials and supplies, for the workday.
Kurt, seconded by Dave, all in favor? Thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to trail report.
Okay.
Okay.
Guess I could just start. Maureen has submitted some pictures.
Excuse me, my apologies, John, to you, Chair Jackson, we didn't actually have a motion to receive the financial report for information as well.
Motion to receive the financial report from Mr. Allen.
Moved.
Dave, seconded by Lance, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll get put into it.
Okay, John, go ahead. Trail report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a wonderful day for a walk. Yeah, it was out there. For the most part, the trails are in good shape. They're a little bit wetter than they were on work day, so there's a few slippery spaces, but that's consistent with the warnings on the sun, so I think we're okay there. And word of thanks to whoever was responsible for all the branches and things that were cleared off the trails. I'm sure some bikers were involved and some staff people were involved, so. Yeah, the trails I would say are in pretty good shape. Personal comment, just the impact of this year's freezing rain and wind events, I've never seen that, anything like that. Even the dredge, I don't think had as big an impact as what I've seen between last time I was on the trails and this time, but. Yanni Transit was in good shape. Those of us who are on there often know about the large pine tree at the top of the long slope as you come up from the bridge crossing Baxter, and it's still leaning there. I'm not sure how much longer it will lean, but someday when you're out, I think that would be something for staff to look at, but wouldn't want it to be my responsibility if it came down. But my thought is it wouldn't come down for a long time. So anyway, I would say Yanni's in good shape. DL was really wet in terms of water, but people can still walk and that's fine. There is a big poplar now hanging over that one and a few cedars. Again, they're probably not gonna fall down unless we get a lot of rain and the wrong wind at the wrong time, but I'm assuming I'm not sure exactly how staff follows up. These trail reports have become more formalized, I think, since the first time I did a trail report. So I'm guessing you're writing it down and you'll pass it on to
Yeah.
Chris.
So, yeah, like we've talked about it a few times, and if you can give us like a better, like the map and the location of it, so guys can just go out and know exactly where it is and they're not wandering around looking for stuff, that'd be the best, yeah.
I can hand you something like that in. This basically, you start at one, there's only one place to start for DL and just keep going west and they'll see them, but. Meadows in good shape. Anybody who's out for a walk can take a set of loppers. I think with all the rain, some of the branches are hanging down. I had a set of loppers for a while. I took a few off the sides, but it's nothing that would knock anybody off a bike. There's lots of buckthorn that continues to grow along there, so anytime you see them, why? It's not a problem. It's not something you gotta deal with. There's this point, I wouldn't think. Railbed Trail East is clear, and Maureen had sent the pictures of the trees on the Railbed West. Again, I would start at the road and head.
That's the patch of 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we did have park staff went out and they were a little big, so Public Works are gonna have a look at them and see if it's something they can do or not, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3 altogether, like pump, and
Yeah.
there's one that was unstable, so there's 4 altogether.
Okay.
Grand Trunk Pathway was clear. The section by Baxter Creek is pretty muddy. But that's the way it is when it rains, so. There is one 2x6x8 that needs to be replaced on the boardwalk south of the Zion, for the Baxter Creek Trail. It's where we put the mulch in. You know, when it's convenient, we can do that, I guess. The mulch north of Zion made walking in the rain much more pleasant than it would have been without. There are some places where the mud's starting to come through there. And what I wrote for the next section was the pleasure of walking on the new bridges and boardwalk make the area that requires attention following the construction of the floating bridge distressing. It's muddy but passable. One walker seemed willing, even happy to put up with the conditions just because he enjoys. I ran into this guy in the rain. You know, we're worried about it. I think the people that walk on it just love the trail, and when we get it fixed, they will look more. I did make the note that I think we need to give consideration to the sections of boardwalk along Baxter, to sort of inventory what needs to be replaced versus repaired, because some of them are starting to sag and some of them look to me like they won't last too much longer. But again, I think that'll become clear about how we do that after the policy's out, whether it's up to us or whether it's up to staff to make those decisions. So
Where was this from?
well, just anywhere, say south of the dam. Like there's some of the boardwalk that's in really good shape because we put in new sections, and then some of the stuff that was, I guess, put in, you know, prior to 2010.
Yeah.
That it's not as level as it used to be, and probably be better to replace the whole section than to try to, you know, patch it up. But again, it's not something I feel capable of making the decision. So whether it's up to committee or staff to make those decisions, I guess we'll be learning as time goes by. And the fairground trail, it was in great shape. So, I did notice there's a cedar hanging on Meds Mountain, and again, I'll take one of those trail maps and put an X on it, but it's if you're going from the Orca property, and it's before you get to the gate on the top of the hill there, that look over at Stevens property.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And so anyway, I had a lovely walk. It was raining, but yeah, there's a reference to men's. So that's what I observed, and Maureen, I know you're on the trails all the time, so you probably observed more.
I wasn't here when all the rain was happening. I was in Montreal, but I did get out on a few of the trails. So Station Trail is, as Saskia mentioned last time, really quite mucky near the car. And that trail gets a lot of use when it is usable, but especially by kids. And so I think at this point, it would be nice to start thinking of doing a boardwalk in that area. Just for, I don't know, how long would it be, 30 feet?
Yeah, not too big, you can break it into two sections right before you just do a
Right.
little section
Mhm.
right after.
Yeah, it's for dog walkers and for kids in particular. Um, it's a problem. It wouldn't be so much a problem for people on bikes. I also included quite detailed pictures of the state of the rutting along Baxter Creek between the Fairground Hill and the new boardwalk. And the reason I did that again, and that was after the rain, granted, so lots of water accumulation, is just to give some indication of how eroded and compacted that area is. Mostly to ask Meredith about whether we should or could bring in new material to fill that in sometime soon, because I think it's going to be probably now, after all this rain, quite a few weeks before we'll be able to rake any of that out. And what we should do about the trail itself, most of this has been shade, dappled shade or quite heavy shade, and I'm just wondering if there's native seed mixture or something that you would like us to sprinkle along the sides to narrow it, because the trail is now the full width of the gator or ATV or whatever they were using, so it's quite widened, the trail, So, just asking you to think about that. I do a walkthrough with you anytime you're available in town, whenever you can.
Okay, thank you through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, in terms of filling in any areas,
I can take that from Meredith. So, we have had comments from Orca on policy. We have added them into the policy. We are waiting on MNRF to make their comments right now. As for adding fill material, it would be part of a permit process, and whether we need the location, what we want to bring in, and it'll all be part of a permit and review process to add material anywhere on the trail. Yeah. So we did discuss this area a little while ago, and we discussed we were going to measure the lengths and how much boardwalk we need, and so that area might be better to have boardwalk added, because it is very remote to get material in there, and it'd be a lot of material that's needs to go in there really, right? And it's really wet area to begin with, so it would be a big review from work, which material you want to put in and whether we're able to put that material in. And then we need machinery to get that material in there. There's so much that would be needed, right?
My concern is that there are some, we may not need to repair the whole of that area. We may just need to repair the very deepest ruts to level it so that we can level boardwalk there. And I don't think that would take that much material, actually. We're quite used to wheelbarrowing material.
I think that part of the issue, Chris, is that machines cause this issue in the first place, so we wouldn't want to exacerbate it by trying to fix it. But just to clarify, so I assume then that we're still waiting on the M&R.
We are, yes.
Okay. But it's going to require a permit process anywhere in the trails, including the land that the township owns, which are going to be.
If it's wetland, classified as wet.
So what about something like Station Trail?
I'd have to check with Orca, see if it's classified as wetland under.
But the township owns that land.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
John.
so should we be making a motion to ask you, like, do we wait for the policy? Or I think as a group, we could make a recommendation that we think we should add X number of meters of boardwalk, say, to Station Trail. Could we, what's the process? Should we make a motion and then you tell us to go out and measure it? Or are we waiting for the policy to come in? Say we wanted to start on something like that. The real bid, theoretically, I understand it's in a hazard land or whatever, but it is also on top of the rail bed. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but I'm just wondering what the process is. Can we start it before the policy?
So you're looking at Station Trail or Baxter?
Well, either one, I guess.
Yeah.
If we don't, like Station Trail, we know we don't have to do any fill. We just have to put a boardwalk in, whereas we don't really know whether, we don't know what the policy is going to be, whether we can level out with rakes and shovel and then put the boardwalk in by Baxter.
Yeah.
So if the committee wanted to, like, I'm not sure the committee wants to undertake a project to put in boardwalk over the summer.
Well, I guess the question is, we're not able to do anything until we get this.
So we had discussed before the workday that like the committee will be doing boardwalks, but it will be a set design, right?
Right, but I'm saying we don't have set design because we don't have feedback yet from the M&R. We don't have an approved policy yet.
So we don't have an approved policy yet, no, but
Has the owner indicated when they'll get back to us? I mean, we were expecting this in March.
they're
Now,
hopefully
what
this
do you-
week is the last email I got from him. He was gonna try and get out Friday. It's just they've been busy outside, same with everybody else.
Okay,
It's been a really, really bad spring, right?
and we've got a new contact there, because my understanding is Jeff Wiltshire's retired.
Yeah, I have a new contact, yeah.
John?
So I guess that, I'm not sure where I should be starting is so I guess my question is to the committee. If we had a design, if the design was basically what we used to do with our old wood, is there any interest in the committee trying to do some boardwalk over the course of the summer, or is it something where because no use getting all excited about the fact the policy isn't here if we don't intend to do anything until the policy gets here. If we would like to try to deal with the wet spot on Station Trail, and there's a possibility that that's fairly simple, is the committee committed to trying to do that over the summer, or set a work day for, say, September, or like, because like there's no use going around in circles. We can either say we want to try to build it and then see if we can get permission to do it, or we can say, we'll wait for the policy.
Well, I guess the question is, are we allowed to do it without the policy?
So we have, the next meeting is in June, so it's not that, it's only a month away. So if you decide you want to build a boardwalk, by the time you go out and measure it up and how much you want to build, how long it's gonna be, we should have the policy at the next one, and I can apply ahead of time for the permit. If it requires a permit, like I could apply for the permit next week.
So,
Okay.
so I guess then I would ask the committee, is there an intent to do something in July if we get permission in June to do something to try to build a section of boardwalk where the old car is?
Yeah, I would just like to maybe play devil's advocate. What happens if we don't get policy by June and then we're off for July, August?
So we'll work with you, like, and Orca was okay with the design we have. M&R, so this isn't M&R property, so I'm sure we can work with you and figure out the design and get stuff moving.
So any comments on John's thoughts? That's it.
I don't really know the general process, but like I'd be happy to volunteer to by next meeting, have a layer, like how long each section would need to be, or if we would prefer to do one section for discussion. Or is that part of the trail report? I just don't know. Is that added as a work plan item?
Form, sort of go out and measure and see what we need, and
Okay.
from there we estimate material. And then I guess the policy will dictate whether or not we need to purchase additional material than what we have in the shed, yeah, or in the work shed, right?
So if we want to formalize, like I'd be happy to go out, measure sections, send out emails this month or in the next few weeks, so then if they get the policy, the permits can be applied for ahead of time, then we can hopefully move forward this summer.
If you know you wanna work on Station Park right now and it's 24 feet you need, then we can go ahead and apply for the permit for 24 feet on Station Trail.
So do you need some help to do that measuring? Like, so in other words, I'll make a motion then that you do the measuring and forward it to Chris. And that we set a date to do something in July.
More than that, one.
I think it sounds good. My suggestion would be that, so basically the committee supporting that, this project basically to, explore, putting boardwalk on a portion of, I believe it's Baxter Creek. Sorry. Station Trail, sorry, Baxter Creek was mentioned as. Yeah, so, that sounds good, and Chris doesn't need a motion to get the, work permits, but it's good if the committee supports the project when he's getting a work permit, so,
And maybe if you're on Station Trail and you think maybe there's another section you wanna do later on, it's probably best to put in one permit at the start. So you might wanna do 24 feet in this section, you might wanna do 8 feet further down somewhere. So if we have everything, we can put in one permit for that on Station Trail, right? Yeah.
And is it easiest for you if we have like just mark on one of our maps where these sections?
Yeah, that'd be
are?
perfect. Yeah, just so I can outline, so I'd put it right in the permit. Here's the location. If you got pictures, that's great. So they can see this is a muddy area. Yeah, more information, the better.
Through you, Chair. So to the more information, the better idea. I don't know if this is doable, but would it not make sense then, on your phone, you can pin your phone's location?
Yeah, the
What if-
pictures can have the GPS.
Exactly, and then when you share that, then it's not exactly like, oh, where are we talking? We're actually apple and apple. Okay, perfect. Do we want to maybe incorporate that would be standard protocol moving forward when we're sharing communications and stuff with the township staff? Other than those who may not have the phone, if that's the case, like.
If you don't have the capability, just draw it on the map.
Yeah,
It's
but-
fine for trees
your
down,
best.
stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's,
but just having
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's
super
fine.
simple,
Yeah.
and then you can think the things. Okay, cool.
what you did on your map with your trail report, that was really helpful.
Yeah,
Assessed it.
perfect.
So do we need a formal motion for that?
I would suggest, because it's a project the committee isn't supporting, I would have a motion for it. I can read out what I have briefly, that, the committee support, exploring building a boardwalk, on a portion of the Station Trail.
Yeah, okay, can I have, second? All in favor? I'm sorry, Griffin, second, okay, thank you. You. More about your chart plan?
About the trail report, no, I don't think so, remember the trails in my head. No, I think, John covered everything that I said. Mhm.
Okay, wonderful.
Mhm.
Motion, we don't need a motion to accept the chart report.
Oh, we do. Thank you.
Motion to accept the chart report, please. Dave, Darren, seconded by Gary, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving on to general business, 7.1, Youth Day recap. So thank you to everybody who joined for the workday. As Maureen referenced earlier, we had the largest turnout ever, I believe. We had well over 60 people. There's an article that will be going out in the Millbrook Times. I haven't been to the post office lately. Is it coming yet?
Mhm. Most recent ones on the front desk,
Is
if you
it?
want to pick up a copy.
And I wrote a letter on behalf of the Trails Committee to Township after, and I'll read it to you now if you like. To Township Councillor, the Deputy Mayor and the Mayor, on Saturday, May 3rd, over 60 volunteers from Capital Township joined together for the Millbrook Valley Trails Workday. This annual event always brings out dedicated users of the trail to help maintain, beautify, and improve our network. However, this year's group was the largest we've ever had. For over 3 hours on Saturday, these tireless workers, as well as members of the committee itself, repaired bridges and boardwalk, installed new directional signs, cleared fallen limbs and brush from the recent ice storm, picked up garbage, and spread hundreds of meters of fresh mulch across our trails. It is through this volunteerism and community spirit that we are able to have such an extensive network of trails enjoyed by countless users throughout the year and ensure that the Millbrook Valley Trails remains a jewel in the crown of our township. I have included some pictures of the day for your review. We thank you and township staff for your continued support of our efforts. Sincerely, Robert Jackson on behalf of the Millbrook Valley Trails Committee. Okay. Did anybody have any comments or thoughts or anything they'd like to add about the work day?
We had a really good turnout of kids from the karate club as well as from the scouts. And with leaders and parents, and so that was a really, really effective workforce, and many of them trooped all the way out to the far reaches of Baxter Creek as you're approaching Zion Line on short legs, very willingly, and helped plant 100 seeds over time. So we put in 50 elderberry and 25 spice bush, and 25 pagoda dogwood. And the kids were all excited to see them go in, and obviously they got well rained in, so we're in good shape. Yeah. Yes, so that went well. I have to admit, there were 5 very runty plants among the 50. They gave us a second output of 50. Those 5 went in my garden where I can give them TLC and fish fertilizer. So we'll hope they survive. They're on simple litter. All the other plants were in fantastic shape. The roots are great from the ones we get from folks. So great.
Okay. Any questions from township staff regarding work day? No?
No, good,
Okay.
great job.
7.2 commemoration of committee members. We discussed this at our last meeting. Looking at that, we said you were going to follow up on this. And I know in the meantime, Mr. Cosley had sent an email to the township and committee members, sort of reiterating on what we've done in the past. Is there an update from the township around this?
Yeah, so we did have a discussion about it. I did send an email out to everybody. Did you not receive it, Rob?
I did, I just remembering it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, we are in favor of allowing a commemorative sign on the new bridge. We're just kind of curious of who we're looking to have on, whether it's one person, multiple people, but we'll go ahead and we'll work towards having it installed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, that was the 8th of May, my apologies. Okay, so did we want to discuss that now? I know we had thoughts in the past about a particular member. Is that any feeling on that change? Do we want to come up with wording tonight? Do we want to, what do we want to do with this new information?
It might help if not everyone has been on the committee as long, so it might help if you tell us.
Right.
Why and
So they're founding members of the committee. This was a project started, the Treasurer project started in 2001 as what do we call it? It was a initiative at the turn of the century, year 2000.
Millennium?
Millennium Project, thank you very much. So there were many founding members that worked very hard to put the trails together and start the trails and establish them and started this committee, etc. And 10 years ago, is that how long? You said when we were down there the other day, the Fairgrounds Bridge, it was 10.
That was 13.
13, yeah. There was a member that we wanted to recognize that had unfortunately passed, an original member, and so on the bridge just below the Fairgrounds Hill, that we erected a plaque that is just in memory of John Selleck, who was a founding member. So the thought was with the new bridge, the new floating bridge, as we call it, that we would do the same. So that's sort of the history. Just want to sort of recognize the people that have spent many, many hours in dedication to improving the trails. So that's sort of history. Kurt, do you have sorry, I can't, report? Did you have to say? No? Okay, do we want to come up with an actual plaque today and wording and the member that we want to recognize? We insert that?
Good. Why not?
Okay.
You had a better picture than mine, Kirk, of the one that's on the bridge with John Selleck's.
Yeah, I'll just read out and say something about in the email as well.
I got it here.
Got it.
This bridge is in memory of John Selleck for his hard work, dedication, and love of these trails, 1932 to 2012.
I think something very similar to that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Now the bridge itself is a different construction, so that exact design, which I personally love, and which has stood the test of 12 years, without fading is, I mean, that would be lovely, but it won't work on that bridge. Unless it won't, because there's no wooden railing.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't know, we could screw into the aluminum, or would the township prefer a plaque sort of at the beginning of the bridge?
Maybe we could just install something on the side of the bridge to put the plaque on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, so, yeah, we don't have to.
We could probably figure something out too,
Yeah.
exit to the bridge, yeah. I don't think that's too big a deal. We'll just figure out what
Yeah.
we want for a sign and we'll deal with that after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget, and it was maybe by 8. Like, it's not very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you wanna talk about who you think it should be dedicated to?
Oh, let me do that.
Well, we're thinking of Bob Spitz,
Yeah.
who again was a founding member, who was always coming out. Came out to about 5 years ago, maybe the last time he came out. And I'm not in, is he still alive?
We were just asking that.
We
Yeah.
have to see if we can find
Yeah.
existing. That's why we have to build the next bridge real quick. And there are a couple other people who want to get their names out there as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they can certainly find that information out.
and you know, it's not really that important, but John Selleck, who the other bridge was named after, they were kind of always together, sort of thing, and
Yeah.
they were two old guys on the committee that were
Yeah.
tell us what to do and yeah, way to go to do it, sort of thing.
And Bob was the one that really designed all of the original signs and the posts with the rotary of all the trail signs and things. And to this day, there's still a lot of jigs in the shed that Bob designed in terms of spacing for the boardwalks and that sort of thing. And Bob also designed the benches, the original benches around the trails, and designed them in such a way that they couldn't really be moved by those that wanted to move them. So yeah, okay. So do we agree on just very, we'll find out sort of the current situation and we agree on the current, the same type of wording? Yeah, and the same type of sign. Does anybody remember? I can go back and look, but I'm assuming we got that plaque done by the sign around them.
Yeah.
Who's now a different name, but still does the same thing, right?
Yeah. We have a couple different ones. So
Okay, yeah, we can find that out.
Yep.
But, okay, well, why don't I come back with the information at the next meeting, and then we can have a motion to formalize the wording and all of that sort of thing, and I can even have an idea of the cost. I don't assume it'll be very expensive, They're not too much.
No, they're not.
Does that sound good to everyone?
And perhaps at the same time, we could set a fall date for the official opening of the bridge, if that's, if.
Yeah, exactly.
Can have noise.
To you, Chair Jackson, if you do have, if you want a draft wording of the verbiage for the sign and any former committee members or other committee members that would be commemorated, would you mind giving it to me in advance of the meeting so we could have it for publication? I could tell you what the date that we're aiming for, because it'd be good from a transparency perspective, and it would give the committee members something concrete to discuss where I'd have it up on screen. Afterwards, I can give you the date of publication right now. It would be, June 23rd is our next meeting, so it would be the Wednesday beforehand, so give me 1 second. That would be Wednesday, June 18th. If you could have it to me by then, or maybe ideally a day or two beforehand, would that be fine?
I can, yeah.
Once, I guess I'm just thinking if that's gonna get published, then it's gonna have his name in the minutes of the agenda. Is someone gonna try to reach out to either him or his family
Yeah.
before that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? No, okay, we're going to 7.3, weed control. Right.
The leaves are out there, but the leaves, and I have started making my initial, contacts with, the gentleman who's been doing it for us year on year. And as soon as and I do have the budget, predetermined, so as soon as, we formulated a plan, I'll get back to you all by email. It's likely to start at some point toward the end of June, with spraying. Perhaps early July, depending on the heat level. And then, this year I'll also be inviting, an opinion on whether or not, he could be available to do some buckthorn remediation as well in the specific areas that, John Follis and I have already marked the trees. And if that were the case, then we would want to do it in the fall, or next spring. And we would require, more money in the budget for that, but it wouldn't be, that particular layout, is all on fairly level ground and wouldn't require his use of an ATV or anything like that. It'd just be following us a walk around with a paintbrush with the herbicide in a bucket. And just, painting the outer rim of the stump as we cut. And it has to be done within a few minutes of the stump being cut. So I'll come back to you in June if person is interested, and talk about, the possibility of doing that in the fall. That's all I saw for the moment, yeah.
Yeah, we have very points.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, any questions on that? No, all right, wonderful. Moving on to 7.4, work plan. Right. Thanks, Dan. Okay, number one, still ongoing. Number two, I don't have any update. Just wait here for my. Sorry, Murray. Any update on number two?
North Trail expansion, no.
No, okay. Any update from staff on number three?
Number three is, yeah, we were to meet the end of May with GIS at the county. I have messaged them again this week to follow up on our meeting. So I'm just waiting on a time from them when they're available. They did indicate that they're very busy and want to meet closer to the end of May, so I'm thinking it might be the early June.
Okay, thank you. John, number 4.
Nothing unless anybody else has heard anything.
So that's still the same. We've just been in discussion with a trail agreement.
Okay, we're working towards one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, for sure.
Number 5 is on hold. Number 6, ongoing. My apologies, I've done 50 of other things, and I'll go on to number 7 as well.
Consideration of the mansion grounds as part of number 5.
Put that separate line. Yeah. Number 7. Oh, sorry, number 7, extension trail system downtown Millbrook. Mr. Eckstein just indicated, well, that's still on hold. Number 8, ongoing. I have put a few more together. It's all that quick.
Sorry, I just have a question. How many was it again that we were that you were making?
35.
35.
Yeah.
And they're almost complete then?
Well, I wouldn't say more,
Right.
but I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm working towards it. Number 9, I think we just got an update on that. Basically, from Maureen, yeah. Number 10, as Chris mentioned, hopefully we'll have an update for June. Looking for feedback from the M&R.
Right now, yeah. Hopefully that's this week.
Number 11, we just covered that. So we will have an update on that in the June meeting. Number 12, anything new, Chris?
To you, Chair Jackson, I believe this is overlap a little bit with item number 4. We probably can, if you don't mind, I'll just delete this item and we'll fold it into number 4 next meeting. I only had it on there because the committee specifically requested it as a motion previously, but they kind of got connected.
Do we need a motion for that?
No, I don't.
Okay, wonderful. Number 13. Is that you?
That was just for any ongoing issues that the committee has identified, like previously, Vice Chair McDonald had identified nails seeing the boardwalk. I believe you did not spot any in your past trail report. If I only had a brief chance to go through all your emails.
Yeah, I think at the last meeting it was that you were going to give us locations on where there was some wood that got transported around that needed removed by staff.
I think that's been dealt with.
It has been dealt with. I'm not entirely sure by whom, but I had my suspicions.
No, well, it was
Project.
on the workday,
Yeah.
my crew, group spent, first hour or so moving all of on this side of the floating bridge, all of the detritus of the old bridge. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but it's just on the corner, by Baxter Creek there, and just part of it all back there and mostly out of sight, but certainly out of reach now. So that was,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yes, and the pictures will show that I took of the flooded portions of the very mucky portions of Baxter Creek, that much more effective and creative use has been made of all the cast-offs of construction, what's available to step on to avoid mud is now not rising up to slap you in the face, and there are no nails. So it's much more satisfactory, much safer.
So,
I guess under that one, I draw attention again to how we go about identifying. We're just clarifying, we're waiting for the policy as to whether it's going to be up to us to identify sections that need to be replaced as opposed to repaired, or whether it's going to.
Oh, that's all in your inspections too. Like, it's all recommendations in your inspections. So, go right ahead.
That's not gonna change.
No, we're still inspections. Yeah, you recommend
But it was
what and
still,
where.
to sort of formalize it though, if I'm concerned that we should be maybe making a plan for that, do I just talk to you and then you and I go for a walk and we do an inventory or how do we? Like, I'm just not sure how we make plans for the next year. Whether theoretically, to me, we should have identified before the workday that this section needs to be dealt with this year, whereas the rest of them are fine. And I don't think we have that, so we end up in the middle of the summer, maybe that a section that should have been repaired suddenly gives out. And I'm not saying, like, I don't feel capable of saying we should be doing that, but I think we need some kind of guidance for the committee, or else the committee's got to formalize how we're going to do it. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, okay, I mean, I think, you know, the standard procedure before a workday is that we all identify jobs that need to be done. Right, and that usually happens the month or two before. So if workday is in May, we can identify in March or April what work needs to be done, and I'm assuming if we need permits, it's not an arduous timeline to get those.
No, it'll be pretty quick.
It'll be pretty quick, so
Yeah.
let's say, okay, we need to replace this section of boardwalk. We do the appropriate paperwork and we get permission to do it by workday. But if it's, you're saying it's sort of outside of those parameters, like in the middle of June, we see this section needs to be done, and I think it's brought up in a meeting or via email. And I think we just follow the same process.
And if it's emergency or health and safety, it's gonna get done as fast as possible. It's, yeah. Like whether we have to go out and have staff do it or you guys do it, it's gotta get done if it boils down to health and safety or emergency issue, right?
But I said,
Forward.
that's not.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the people that are doing I happen to be doing my trail walk after the workday, so now it won't be another workday till next year, so I should have probably submitted. Again, as I say, I don't think I'm really competent at that point to say, this is the one that needs to be repaired and this is the one that has to be replaced. But maybe I'll just have to do more.
Well, no, but I think if you bring it up as a concern, either in a meeting or in an email to me or to Chris or whoever. Then, yeah, we can go out and have a look and discuss and. You know, if it's one board, we can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
If it's a section.
So I think maybe from what I'm feeling, I should say to you, let's go take a walk.
Sure.
Before, but I guess it's up to me to pick a date when you're available and we'll go take a walk.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I always find myself too late, like I should have picked up the new brochures to put when I was walking, and I always think of it when I'm already on the trail. So I'm trying to be ready for the next time, I guess, but at the same time, I don't like to waste your time with what may not be necessary. So.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think enough of us are out there. Enough of the time that we can sort of identify these, and certainly if something's broken, then that's obvious, but if something's getting kind of spongy. And that can happen fairly quickly, I found, right? Like, 1 month it can be fine, and then you get weather like this constantly, and the next week it could be, next few weeks it could get a little iffy and. But there's always wood, and there's usually pieces of 4 foot. Somewhere on my property, that we could just take over and replace, right?
Yeah, some of the older boardwalk, is
Getting to that
It's
point.
getting punky and mossy, and all it would take would be another few of these types of storms and then a frost. And then a cross-country runner going through.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, it's quite prevalent in Baxter Creek too, right? Because it doesn't get a lot of sun.
Right.
So nothing ever seems to dry out, which is part of the problem, but that's what we have to look for.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, and then something I did forget to mention is the bridge by the old school is still awaiting.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna walk over a new bridge and then,
Yeah.
and then I was wondering about my memory, so.
Yeah, so, we were looking at May 28th, which would be this Wednesday.
Mm,
I was following up with RJ Machine there today, just to make sure they're still coming on the 28th, because it's pretty wet over there. So I'm just waiting for the follow-up from him. We've got our material ready to go to social media, that it'll be closed May 28th till, we got it till Monday, that whether it takes that long or not, till June 2nd.
Okay,
So
well,
everything's ready to go. We're just waiting to see if Wednesday is the day or not.
okay, well, I can put signs up too.
Yeah.
So, what about the brush? Are they just gonna work around it, or are you clearing that out first?
Trying to get out to it, yeah.
No, I know.
Trying
it's-
to.
No, no,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
I just, okay, I just figured it might be in their way.
Yeah, it might be all right there, but,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, we are working on getting all that brush out of there.
Okay, well, we can put, we've got trail close signs.
Okay.
That we'll put up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then at the entrance to the boardwalk there in the park.
Yeah.
And then even
And then
closer.
we'll have caution tape and stuff there.
Yeah, but it'll be pretty obvious. but-
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so hopefully Wednesday, and hopefully,
And they figured
Few
about a
days.
week.
well, I think they're a little quicker than we get. It all depends on weather and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but just in case, yeah.
and they're gonna take all the old stuff away.
Yeah.
Okay,
Same as the other bridge.
all right. Is there a next page?
No, that is, my understanding you had raised prior to the meeting, you might want to add an item.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna add number 14, Marine sort of spearheading something that we've been talking about for a few years. But that's a proposed new trail by the mansion grounds, so maybe for the newer members, you wanna sort of explain what that is and where that is.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, so this has been a dream, not just of this committee, but also of this historical society. To bring attention to the period of history that is symbolized really by the existence of the mansion ground. Mansion grounds are adjacent and kitty corner across Main Street from the fairgrounds. There's nothing much to see from the road or from the fairground or Baxter Creek Trail at present. But if you look uphill toward the west, there is a plateau up at the top. It's now well treed. It would have been fully cleared back in the day. It's across the deep ravine from the Fairground Hill that is on your right as you're going down the Fairground Hill. That ravine used to be bridged by a suspension bridge, which Squire Sowden had built sort of as a bit of a folly, like it wasn't really necessary. He could have gone in off the end of Main Street, but he wanted something elaborate and impressive, I think. He had a sizable mansion there, the foundation stones of which are still visible, and I included them in a picture that I sent to you by email today. And there are also the cellars of 3 outbuildings on the grounds as well. There's a particularly flat area that is now treed that likely would have been the tennis court. He likely would have had some place to at least water and tie off horses, although his stable might have been somewhere else in town. So Sowden Lane is actually closer to King Street along Main Street. It's a perpendicular street that parallels King Street, and he had a house there as well. He was very instrumental in the placement of businesses, hotels in particular, in and around Millbrook, and was very influential in how the town developed around the multiple railways, of which Millbrook was a hub. Then came a very significant depression, economic depression. There was an equine flu that went through that made it very, very difficult for horse-drawn societies to function. Horses didn't usually die of it, but they were really, really sick for a period of weeks to months. And they also found that in fact they had overextended themselves financially by building too many railways. At which by the time the forests of Halliburton and farther north were depleted of lumber, those railways were not being supported by the amount of commerce that was being done by selling lumber to Britain and the States. So, Squire Souden and a number of the moneyed and influential people in Millbrook were looking farther afield for opportunity, and it came up in the form of land that was going to become available for speculation in Manitoba. So he and a syndicate of developers went out to Manitoba, depleting the town of a third to a half of its population eventually. So that was when Millbrook went into an economic decline. And that is why we have so many grand houses in Millbrook that went through a period of slump and comparative disarray to what they would have been in their prime. So his house actually, my understanding was that it was cannibalized in fact for parts, and that parts of the house were incorporated in other homes as they were built or renovated. There will be a couple of articles written in the Millbrook Times, I think the next 2 issues about this history, and in the fall, an invitation to the community to see if we can get some actual pictures of the mansion estate in its heyday. And when Souden went out west, of course, he was a man of his time. He was imperialist and very much into the British Empire and expansionism. As you know, now we would say racist in his day, as was common at that time. Treaties were not very well respected out there. So it's it's the usual kind of checkered history that evolves over a period of centuries. But it's really interesting to people. I met a couple guys on the fairgrounds as I was doing my Baxter Creek walk yesterday, who were out there with metal detectors, not on the estate grounds, but nearby. And they were saying, they couldn't figure out why there were so many houses in Millbrook that looked as though it had been a going concern at one point, and now it was just beginning to come up again, and they wanted to know the history. So I told them a little bit about it, and they were really interested. And these are guys that grew up in the suburbs of the GTA, so it's not just us who are interested in that type of thing. So the thought is that, I should tell you, the LiDAR images that I sent for you to have a look at, so you could see where the foundations actually lie, are from publicly available imagery that Craig Onagrychuk, who used to be on this committee, gave us, and then he and Dan and I walked. It had been 5 years or so since I was last up there. I think I may have taken Lance up there, yeah, not too long ago. It is really getting overgrown, so the earlier the better in terms of trying to figure out where we want to put a trail if it's available to us. This time we walked in where the orange plastic snow fence is across the old snowmobile bridge, and walked around the ravines where they become narrow and shallow. Any dream of building a new suspension bridge with all the trees that are falling lately, I think is beyond us. It should be noted that Souden, when he went out west, ended up building a suspension bridge across a river to his new development, which flipped in the wind one day. It hit its resonance frequency and flipped. And then was flooded out on another occasion, and the third iteration of it ended up costing $3.2 million to build, to insurance, the satisfaction of the insurance company. So I don't think we'll be doing that. But it would have been really, really something for his guests to arrive. He was trying to sell Millbrook to them, you know, at a time when it seemed like it was only on the rise and no one was thinking that an economic depression would happen. And he had trout fishing parties and lawn bowling parties and golf parties and it was something else. It gives you an
Didn't he
idea
have a
that
couple of
nothing-
golf holes, you told me?
Pardon me?
Didn't he have a couple of golf holes or like a
Yeah.
executive?
Nine-hole golf course.
A 9-hole, yeah, so it's like a little,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
gotta have some tennis courts and golf courses.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big piece of property up there. Once you get up there, your sight lines are off because it's so treed, but it's kind of neat to think about what might have been and to remember that nothing lasts.
So what do we need to do?
So, it would be worthwhile looking at the lot lines and seeing if we can identify who owns those properties.
Yeah, we have that information.
Do you?
It was done previously, yeah.
Okay.
So it's all.
Sorry, to you, Chair Jackson, just, I'd be careful of mentioning anybody specifically by name. It's fine with me, but, I haven't, okay, I just wanted to say, sorry.
No, it's just we need to know, I mean, it's easier now that we can use our phones. I can't, but people who know how to do it can use their phones to make sure that we're, you know, within the public space. And Craig was able to do that for us, but neither Dan nor I has the technology or the brain power to do it. Dan's still on an iPhone 6, so there's an idea of where we are at. Yeah, just doing walkthroughs and trying to figure out what possibilities there are without bridging, without getting too elaborate. Would be helpful. Mhm.
I think first thing we just gotta figure out who owns property before we move anywhere, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
It'll be,
Be clear, right?
yeah.
Karen has that,
Understanding here.
Karen has that information, Chris. She's pulled it for us before.
Yeah, but we just look up on GIS,
Mhm.
find out the property lines, whether township owns, what they own, who owns, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So could we have, sorry,
I
Griffin?
was gonna say, from my own knowledge, I don't know where this is. Could we facilitate like an aerial map of that spot where we're talking about?
Just flip your computer.
I know kind of like where you're saying.
You can show you right here, right now.
Just today,
Yeah.
I haven't checked today, no.
Kurt, do you wanna just show them on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, so yellow is the fairgrounds trail
Okay,
and coming down over the bridge.
yeah,
And so just at the green is the old Selden property, I'm guessing. And so as you're going down the fairgrounds hill here, basically there's that big ravine and it's that property there. So that is where the old mansion foundation is. And then we've got you can see other
Yeah.
foundations about
Okay.
outbuildings here. So that's where it is.
not very far from here at all.
No, why, basically the same, good interior, use the same sort of trail, but it goes off in a different direction.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Well, if memory serves, the hiccup last time we said a look at this was there was one private parcel that was owned.
Yeah, there was in this area, but I think last time we were thinking about having a connection
sort of that maybe went down through that property and then went down to where the old snowmobile bridge is.
Yeah,
But I know we haven't really talked about this, but you know, with any new trail, if I remember rightly, there was just one relatively small lot
correct.
in that whole area that is still privately owned by someone in Peterborough. And
Who was trying to sell
who's trying to sell it.
it?
And so, you know, if we were just to do and I'm 99% sure that that lot wasn't like right on the covering where the
Correct.
foundation is. So, you know, I think it would be easy to have a trail that is routed only on public land property. Okay.
Would it be the property that we're talking about without naming the person who owns it? Would it access off of Houston Street? And go that far down, or is it the
Well,
property that
it's not-
straddles the?
It doesn't have any access, that's why they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, so but is it like the backside of the larger property coming off of Houston? Or is it coming off of,
No, I don't think so.
No, it's just
coming
kind
off of Main Street?
it's just, yeah, Main Street would probably be the closest, but
Cause you know how they built at the end of Frederick, the new like a little subdivision, it's tucked behind there, behind that swampy part there, right?
No.
It's further south, so then.
Yeah, so if you
You can mention the address if you want, just not the person.
No, I'm not, I don't even know what the address is.
So
I'm trying to figure.
if you're going across the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Like to the drop off of the
Yeah.
trail, if you were just to keep straight, walking straight, that's where the fairgrounds are. That's
Yeah.
where the
Property, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that very last house at the end of.
Yeah.
Two down from.
Yeah.
PT,
yeah.
got it.
And is the idea then, is this something, it sounds to me as if it would be, you know, once we obviously have established where we could have a trail, to sort of try and do this a bit more collaboratively with the Historical Society and think of like having plaques or something like that. Is that the general idea?
Yeah, that was always the idea, is to have plaques, because the Historical Society has some images of what it used to look like. Which would be kind of cool to.
I've only ever seen pictures of the bridge that used to straddle it, because
Yeah, don't they have a picture of the actual mansion standing out front?
I'm not aware of it. If they do, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
But,
okay, regardless.
they're trying with the Millbrook Times article, trying to pull things out of the woodworks and see even whether people might have articles from the house that, you know, might be just interesting. Yeah, while we're on the subject of collaboration, it would be nice also to encourage, the Historical Society to move on the thoughts that they have got that they might put together for the gazebo by Station Trail related to the, railroad development. So, we could, talk to them about that as well.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I think it would be I'd like to see like an informative. You know. Display or displays, depending on, you know, where the trail goes and what information we have. But
and are we thinking more sort of a short circular loop trail? this
Yeah,
time?
rather than, because at one point we actually even thought, well, maybe you could get enough thoroughfare that we could go from that side of the ravine all the way out to Zion Line on that side of the creek, but that such is not to be, I think.
yeah, and some of the feedback I get, not complaints, we don't really get many complaints about the trail, but it has been mentioned to me a number of times that there's not really a loop on that side of the village to do, right? Like the meds loop's quite nice and easy to do, but there by the fairgrounds, you sort of gotta go in and come out the same way, so this would provide that sort of, you know, loop. So I guess, Chris, could we ask for the township to just provide an image maybe, or some information for the next?
Yeah, because we'll have to follow up on the property anyways. Yeah.
But I think where we're thinking of putting a possible trail is all township property, but we would obviously want to be sure before we move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
So if we could have.
Yeah, so I think that's first step is we make sure it's township property.
Okay, so Mark, could we add number 14 there?
Yeah.
Agenda items?
Can we actually just have a motion to add the item to agenda, basically, exploring, a new trail along, the old, Stoughton Mansion grounds?
That sounds perfect. Can I have a motion for that? Well, there's first, Maureen, seconded by John, all in favor? Okay. So you can put, Maureen and I as owners of that item.
No problem.
And the action item for township to provide ownership map or information for next meeting if possible, that'd be great.
And Craig did say he can be helpful with, GPS coordinates and stuff like that.
Yeah, this will help.
Okay, any other questions on that? John?
Has anybody got a map? Trail map that I can put the X's on or like?
Did we photocopy it? This is the first trail map I've seen in the last 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, we can make a photocopy of it after.
Okay.
Actually, we can make a few of them, and hand them out, and then you got over the next time.
Do we need any items for the next meeting? Do we need to make a motion to accept the work plan?
Yeah, just, receive the updates, approve the updates for the work
I'll
plan.
make a motion, John, seconded by Sebastian. Okay, all in favor? Wonderful. Does anybody have any items for the next meeting, keeping in mind that it's our last meeting prior to our summer break in July and August? Okay, if you think of something, you can email myself or Mark.
Can you, Chair Jackson, I guess it was an item from the previous meeting, but, I would suggest adding the commemoration, again, a discussion of the plaque,
Yeah, well, it's already in the work plan, right?
it's not currently, oh, yeah, it's kind of in the work plan, yeah, sorry, I'll change the item. Remember.
Okay, so no items for our next meeting. Any other business? No, all right, can I have a motion for adjournment? John, seconded by Larry, all in favor? Thank you very much for your time. Reminder that our next meeting date is June 23rd at 4 p.m. Bell report is